Okay, I'm sorry. I muted on Zoom. So I'm asking, please raise your hand, the remote participants, if you think you're ontologist. Nobody? Okay. Oh, one. Michelle. Okay. Second question, can you please raise your hand both remotely and physically if you know FAIR? Okay, let's see. Good. Half. Okay. All right. What about the trust principle? Can somebody raise hands if you know trust principle? Okay, like 10%. Great. And interoperability. Half. Well, a little bit more than half. Great. So now I know what I'm going to talk about. So we have like, oh, okay. We have, so our workshop like composes of a lot of things. FAIR, ontology, trust, data interoperability, harmonization. It's just things we do and we want to put together because there is trust, there is ontology, that, or there's FAIR. FAIR is mostly talking about data. They didn't address ontology yet. Therefore, we want to form a little group to discuss how do we make ontology FAIR. So that is one of the motivation. So since half of the people are ontologists here, I don't need to say too much. Ontology study of being. And this is what in this little group is doing. So we have very complicated ontology with complicated relationships. And then a lot of people really get confused if they're not ontologists. So now we're talking ontologists. We say ontology spectrum. You have all the way starting from taxonomy, terminology, way up to most semantic, strong ontology using first order logic or modal logic. So when we talk about ontology, now we are talking about this spectrum. We're not talking about specific ontology here. And the FAIR, findable, interoperable, accessible, and reusable. This one was published, the paper was published in 2006. I think a lot of people worked on it, and it gets, I see half of the people know about the FAIR. That's really cool for this effort. But we need to apply the FAIR on ontology. So I did some, there are some FAIR evaluation tools available now. One of our speakers, they will talk about their tools, but this is a list of the tools that we can use for evaluation of FAIRs. And the FAIR principle has multiple little sub-items. I look at how FAIR oval foundry ontologies are. And I found, yeah, they're quite fair. So we have multiple principles address FAIR, findable, reusable, interoperable, and accessible. So this got messed up, sorry. But we have more, so for oval foundry principles. So I feel for ontologies, we need to talk more than FAIR. And this is the OntoB interface that you can easily find oval ontologies. And then I also look at the bioportal. My personal opinion is that there a lot of ontologies there are not fair. So compare, I'm not favoring anybody here, but it seems like the oval foundry is more fair. We need a lot of work needs to be done in the bioportal to make them more fair. But at least they are all findable. And they can download, so it's accessible. Other things, not so sure. Okay, so this is my conclusion. And then, but however, you know, the tools that put on the website, is still kind of limited. I cannot do some big ontologies on the OntoB or bioportal. I hope the first speaker, they will address that. I hope. And then a lot of evaluation is manual evaluation. We need to develop some tools, like more convenient, user-friendly tools for that. Oh, this is totally getting messed up. But now I'm talking about harmonization. So we had work on COVID-19 harmonization that was starting, I presented last year in the ICBO meeting. Basically, there are 7 ontologies who are all talking about the COVID-19 ontology. So we were able to reduce them to 4 ontologies. So I think that is an achievement, and we still have more work to do. And oh, so then I just heard a very interesting talk yesterday about ontology alignment. This work is done by the Saudi group, COS group by Sarah. So she has very good method to remove inconsistencies when you put the ontologies together. But how to do it, we need to invite her to talk to us here in detail. So those are relevant work on ontology harmonization. I mean, harmonization and alignment has a little bit difference, but I'm just playing with the word here. Okay, so trust principle, since there is only about 10% people know about trust. Trust is a principle that is developed by this Research Data Alliance group. It's an international group, the people who from all stakeholders, including the researchers, including the government, maybe the industries also. It's an open group. So they're putting out this trust principle, basically. Trust representing transparency, responsibility, user focus, sustainability, and technology to provide the infrastructures. So all this, if we put this trust principle, we really apply this trust principle to all the infrastructure or data repository that we are building. I'm very positive that we have very good quality of data. So to talk about interoperability, I have to introduce you the project that I'm working on called NIH Cloud Platform Interoperability. So NIH has multiple cloud platforms that built by each institute. And they'd like to have the users to be able to go to one workspace and access the data from other platforms. So we have a definition of interoperability. We have 4 levels of interoperability: technical, syntactic, and semantic, and organizational. So the goal here is to starting from connecting the systems, then to connect the data structures, to connecting the data, the meaning of the data. And there are a lot of, so the semantic is probably different here because in the beginning it was not our focus at the NCPI level, because it's a very big work, needs a lot of invest and a lot of resource. And then on the organization level, you actually need a lot of putting a lot of social concepts there. So I call it person interoperability, but then they are not really understanding. I hope here people can understand. Basically, we need to have the seamless information flow and the common understanding of even when we talk to each other, of the terms that we're using, because sometimes I'm talking about ontology. In your mind, you're thinking of a different ontology, like we have this ontology spectrum. I might talk to somebody, in my mind, I'm thinking of overall ontology. But another person, he's thinking about hierarchical taxonomy as an ontology. So these levels of organizational interoperability is very important. That's why we have this workshop to socialize with others who also want to do, are interested in this topic, so we can really move on and create great data sets for AI and machine learning. Well, so then the goal is, we have multiple goals, and Gary will talk more. Basically, I think we can start with some little task to see how to measure the fairness of an ontology, how to use ontology to make data more interoperable and trust. What are the tools? What are the gaps? Okay, so our workshop actually has two parts. One is here, equable one. We have a lot of presentation. We have 4 presentations. And another part is a panel discussion, which will take place at the US 2TS meeting that will happening from Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Lansing, Michigan State University. And we invited Pascal Hister, Ramona Walls, and Chris Mungo as our panelists. All right, with that, I pass the ball to Gary. Gary is your...
Yes, first of all, can you hear me out there?